All right, so we are writing a function that describes a real-world problem, and this is the first day of this. Learning goals for this lesson: I can write a function rule given information in a real-world setting, write a function that represents information in a table, and write a function given a combination of information from a real-world problem and a table. All right, so some things to remember for this lesson. The words per or each are clues that whatever is associated with that word will have a variable. Keep that in mind when you're writing your function. Time is another thing that will likely have a variable attached to it. So something else to keep in mind. But also remember that these aren't necessarily true 100% of the time, but more than likely that's what's going to be the case. And then when writing a function based off of a table, the constant, which is b, will be the y value when x is 0. So we'll go through this again as we come across those problems. So first example, write a function rule that represents the situation. The total cost C of an order of Morton maroon polos is $8 per polo, which we're going to use P for, and a shipping fee of $3.50. So first things first, we're going to use a format y equals mx plus b to write the function rule. So remember, this is has the variable attached to it. So whenever you see that word per, that number would go in here. Your constant would be here, and then your total, in this case, your total cost is going to go here. So we're going to set up as C equals. Next, we have 8p because the cost is $8 per polo, which is p. So that's how we know that that goes there. And then finally, we have a flat shipping fee of $3.50. So that's all you have to do for that one. Second example, we want to determine the function represented by the following table. Again, we're going to use f of x equals mx plus b, and you'll see me use this interchangeably. Y and f of x for the purposes of writing these are basically the same thing. But in this case, we're going to use f of x. All right. You want to find that x equals 0. This is the easiest thing to do first. Okay, so x equals 0, and then find out what the y is at that point. So when x equals 0, y is -1. So we're going to go ahead and throw that in there. Now we need to find the rate of change. So again, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember, f of x and y are basically the same thing, and this is why this type of table can get confusing. You have to flip, even though the y's are on the bottom, we're going to flip it so that it's on top. And I chose -1 and -13 for my y's just because they're smaller values. So I did -1 minus -13. Notice it's always minus even if this number is negative, and keep in mind what that's going to do. Because I chose -1, I used my 0 for my x and -2 for my second x because of the -13. So this actually becomes -1 plus 13 and 0 plus 2, which will give me 12 over 2, which equals 6. That's my rate of change, so I'm going to attach a variable to that, and I have my answer. Final example. So at a Morton West celebration, Ivan won a $50 iTunes gift card for having perfect attendance. That night, he spent $10. The table below represents his remaining balance over the last 4 weeks, and determine the function that represents the data. So again, same format, f of x equals mx plus b. So we can just start off writing the f of x. Now we're going to find the rate of change first. It doesn't matter what you do first, but we're going to find that rate of change first. So I'm going to use 40 and 35.74. Since I used 40 for my y, because remember this is the same thing as x and y, since I used 40 for my y first, I have to use 0 for my first x, and then 2 for my second x. We're subtracting positives this time. So that's going to give me 426 over -2, which simplifies to -2.13. So we found the rate of change. That's going to have a variable attached. And then all you have to do is look where x is 0, which is right there, and see that the remaining balance is 40. So we're just going to add 40 to it. Okay, now you might ask, well, how did you get 40? So in the 0 week, keep in mind that we had a $50 iTunes card, so you might want to put $50 there. But that same night that he got it, he spent $10. All right, this is important. You don't want to skip this step, because I guarantee if this is a multiple choice problem, you're going to have this. And even if you get that, plus 50 would be an answer. It'd be a wrong answer, but it'd be an answer that you'd have to choose from. So make sure you're reading everything carefully. We didn't, this wasn't just thrown in there for the heck of it to distract you. He spent $10, so make sure you take that off. And that's it for target D. This is actually might be a little bit easier for you since we are dealing with numbers and it's fairly straightforward, but there's still things you need to be careful of. So if you have any questions, write them down, ask them in class. All right.